Okay, so we just got the first episode of the Halo TV show, and as a longtime Halo fan, playing Halo Combat Evolved on the original Xbox all the way back in 2001, I wouldn't call myself a completely hardcore fan. I have not read all the books, and I have not replayed many of the middle games, such as Halo 3 ODST, Halo Reach, and Halo 4. For me, those were kind of one-off playthroughs. So I am not as well versed in the lore as many of the hardcore fans will be. However, I am a true lover and find a lot of enjoyment in playing Halo with my friends. That's playing the campaigns, playing the multiplayer. And so I was kind of wondering what this show would be to someone like myself. And I've got to say, I was not going in with a strong sense that this was going to be spectacular, but I think it did a much better job than many were expecting, particularly in the set design and the action scenes. I was expecting something very, B-movie-esque, old school sci-fi network TV show style action. And for the most part, they did a really good job in handling the fighting between elites and the Spartans. You get a lot of good gunplay there that anyone who's played any of the games is going to recognize, which is good. It gives something for people to latch on to and know that this truly is Halo versus some other sci-fi styled show. But that being said, obviously there's going to be some problems here. We're going to get to the big one, but in terms of the story and where this show takes place, the creators have even said that it's not quite going to fit within the game and book canon lore. This is something I do have a problem with. Now, I will say one thing I think is okay to do is keep it within canon lore, but maybe contract the time between events. That's something that I can see happening, and that doesn't affect how I view the lore or the background. But when they're going to change things, that's where it's going to be really weird for the hardcore fans. So like I said, I'm not as well versed in the lore. I've played the games 1 through 3 multiple times, so the lore found within those games, the tidbits you get, I'll recognize those. But I have not played the ODST, the Reach, and Halo 4, which ODST, Reach, and Halo 4 probably have the most expanding view of the lore. And like I said, I'm not as up to speed on those. Same as the Halo Wars games. I've played them, but I wasn't really paying attention to any lore there. I was just sort of seeing how it compared to, say, StarCraft. But yeah, so it's going to be tough. I mean, the first episode, I was surprised at how much lore they started to get into in terms of the elites and part of the Covenant, the Covenant's current structure and their political ambitions, as well as their religious fanaticism. There's some new characters, one of which is in the Covenant, which I'm not going to spoil here, but it's interesting to see where they go with that. We get very little screen time. They get very little screen time in this episode. And then obviously we've got the UNSC and their dubious, sometimes downright evil methods, and whether or not there's justification for it, and that whole idea. So they are getting really into some of the core niches of sci-fi here, and they're bringing in a lot of callbacks, which are really nice to see. The pistol mounting right onto the armor, that's great to see. All the different guns that we've come to know over the years, it's really good to see them utilizing the look and the design and the sound of them, just to really ground the show. But I do have some problems with it. I'm not as sold on some of the story beats they put out in this first episode, namely these there's a rebel group, and I don't want to get too detailed into it and spoilery, but they obviously are not happy with UNSC, and you do have a lot of these just overdone type scenes where they say stuff like, we can't lose our humanity and that kind of stuff. That to me, that's a little too cheesy, might be the wrong word, but it's just not quite. That doesn't quite get to the mood of Halo for me. So yeah, like I said, there's some issues I have with the way they're going to portray some of the story elements and the lore, but overall, I think it did a much better job than I was expecting. The thing is, though, I don't know who the show is for. So, like I said, I'm not a hardcore fan, so it was fun for me to see a lot of the stuff I was familiar with, and my limited understanding of the Forerunners and the Covenant and the UNSC politics and all that stuff. It worked for me because I simply recognized the names and some of the ideologies, and then I just kind of went with it. But a hardcore fan might look at this and say that is all completely wrong, and they might be correct based on in-game and in-book canon lore. And then casual fans, there's just a lot of stuff going on. I just don't know how they can get into it without needing to look up what's going on here. Who are the Covenant? Who's that person? Why should we care what this doctor lady has to say? So, yeah, I'm kind of confused as to who they're trying to draw in. I think they're trying to draw in the more casual sci-fi type fans who might not be that well versed in Halo lore, which I think is a smart move. Obviously, Halo fans, they are a dying breed. There's a lot of infighting, has been ever since Halo Reach, really. So, this is a weird time to release a Halo show. But, yeah, I think they are going to be trying to garner some footing in just a general sci-fi-esque show, and they've got good production quality, which is going to be key, because you need things to look like Halo so that people can recognize them, which they've done a great job on. All right, let's get to the big thing. Master Chief taking off his helmet. Yeah, I was not a fan of that. I think that, there is a storytelling way of doing it that really gives it some impact, and I think The Mandalorian does this well. Obviously, it's hard. I mean, Halo, the Halo idea is, there are some unique aspects to it, but it is rooted in Starship Troopers, in StarCraft, Star Wars, a lot of sci-fi. You got Doom. There's just so much stuff coming together to make Halo that it's just really hard to talk about, the style of it and the feel and the vibe and whatnot. But I think the helmet thing is one that you don't even need to look at other shows or other ideas to just get a feel for what's going on there. The helmet is supposed to it helps you be represented in the Master Chief. Now, I know they say he, but theoretically, this could be even a female. We know there are female Spartans out there, and sometimes just their voice in the helmet you don't even notice. Now, I'm not saying Master Chief should have been female or not. I'm just saying that that whole point of having the helmet on is we don't know. And so taking the helmet off is a big step. And if you're going to do it, I really do think you need to have a build-up there, similar to in The Mandalorian. Now, I'm not a huge Star Wars lore person either. So for me, I learned about the Mandalorians' lack of taking off their helmet in the show. And so once that got established, then there was weight to that moment when he removes the helmet. But here in this Halo show, they don't really have that build-up. They kind of mention that the helmet is tied to a lot of their vitals and their connection to the UNSC headquarters and this kind of stuff, but it doesn't actually... there's very little weight to it for the average fan. Now, obviously, for Halo fans who have played all the games like myself, taking off the helmet is a big moment. And the thing I want to just mention to people is, I'm not sure how many who are watching this or who play Halo now had played the original Combat Evolved when it first launched. But back then, back before YouTube, I know, crazy. Back before YouTube even, there were rumors and hints online that if you did a certain challenge within Combat Evolved, if you beat it on Legendary in a certain amount of time with a certain amount of bullets in your gun or something like that, then you would get an alternate cutscene in which the Master Chief removes the helmet. And so there was this big hype up about the helmet, and then when it didn't happen, it was like, okay, number 2, here we go, opening number 2. We get the Master Chief is kind of getting medals and awarded because of his actions from the first one, and now he's got to take off his helmet, and he doesn't do it there either, and then we get a lot more of it in Halo 3, a lot more kind of teases as we fade out away from the ship, and he does remove his helmet, but we don't see it. So there was a lot of that in the games, and we don't get any of that kind of lead up, which is, I think, disappointing, because now they've just basically given away one of their biggest moments that they could have used to add weight to literally any situation. Now, I will say they did add weight to the situation that was at hand, but to me, I don't think it was enough. I think, obviously, this show is going to grow Master Chief's character. I didn't realize how involved Master Chief would be. I thought maybe he would be a side character that popped in and out and just reminded us that we're in the world of Halo. But it looks like he's actually going to be the main storyline here. And so they use this moment to kind of mark a change in his character, sure, but now the build-up that we have going forward, when we get to moments that are really going to alter his personality or really change his mind about something, we're gonna be missing that element that you could have used at any moment to really show significance. So, it was it's a big step. I can see why they figured let's do it early on to show that this is not the game Halo. This is our Halo. And obviously, if you just copy the Mandalorian thing, people might call you out for that too. And so there's a lot of there's probably been a lot of debate, but I just wanted to say I thought maybe you shouldn't do it at all. But if you're gonna do it, it's hard because when the Mandalorian pulls it off so successfully that it's hard not to say maybe just copy that. But at the same time, they don't want to copy; they want to kind of push forward on their own. So those are my thoughts. I'm gonna keep watching. So I watched with a group of friends. All of us played Halo back in the day. We played consistently online every night, competitive gaming from Halo 2 onward. Halo 1, I don't think it had competitive gaming even back then. They were just playing Blood Gulch and whatnot. But yeah. So let me know what you guys thought. It did get me a little bit more interested in the lore, so I did go back and start looking into some other things. So there's that. Yeah, let me know. What did you guys think? How did you find the look of it all, the combat, and what about the story? do you care about the story? Does it even need a good story to be a good Halo show, or can it just be some decent scenes of drama followed by great action scenes?
Cortana, I'm gonna need you now. Find the Halo. Win the war.